Player Obscure Expedition 33. Player Obscure Expedition 33. Player Obscure Expedition 33. Player Obscure Expedition 33. Player Obscure Expedition 33.
So, Expedition 33 has become the most nominated game in history. The Game Awards has nominated Clair Obscur 12 on nominations. That is a groundbreaking record. And the biggest fact about this is that a lot of these people are from Ubisoft. Like, these are Ubisoft staff members. And I also truly think that this is such a groundbreaking sort of achievement because it is a small dev team. And when I mean small, relatively to these big AAA titles, these AAA companies, because it is a French studio, Sandford Interactive, but just to show the sheer mass of popularity what they've done, it's truly astonishing. So today, we're going to be breaking down how this small team was able to beat the AAA giants and potentially become Game of the Year at the Game Awards this year. So obviously, before Clair Obscur came out, a lot of people were talking about sort of Expedition 33 when we got the trailers, I'll say a couple of years back. But that sort of buzz around the game was created that, you know, these are Ubisoft refugees, that they left the sort of industry. And one of the people who discussed this was the director, saying that he left Ubisoft due to like not having this sort of creative sort of restriction. He felt like he had a creative restriction on the way he used to make these video games. He felt like he couldn't express the way he felt. But just to kind of get rid of the misconceptions, which, you know, a lot of people have been talking about, that when, you know, these Ubisoft refugees left, it wasn't that many people. It was roughly between 10% of the sort of team is from Ubisoft. It's not the whole devs, but it kind of showed that, you know, the director left due to not having this sort of creative feeling. He felt restricted in designing his sort of, or directing his games. That's kind of the premise of how a lot of people talk about the lore on how Clair Obscur kind of did their game. But it's also crazy because he did say he felt bored. And I feel like that's what a lot of people will feel like if you're trying to get into the sort of creative industry or even the gaming industry. There's this misconception that, oh, you get to just build your dream game, or you get to just watch it grow and then blossom, and then you're gonna have all this sort of happiness about designing a game. But not to obviously kill your sort of expectations or even plans, but it's not as simple as just designing a game and that's it, you get to flourish it. There is grueling hours. It does take time for you to finally get to the point where you can actually design a game for yourself. And yeah, as you can clearly see, like, obviously Ubisoft is a massive AAA, you know, AAA studio, and it just seemed like a lot of these people were not happy. Thus, Expedition 33 Clair Obscur was kind of formed. A lot of people kind of give the portrayal of like Expedition 33 to have this sort of Final Fantasy Lost Odyssey sort of, you know, French art style with a sort of indie ethos, kind of describing it as a very, very young game. And most likely for these first time developers, you know, they found a key talent, like their lead writers and composers. They found them through like Reddit and even SoundCloud. To think that there was a composer, there was an artist who were doing music, and now they're well known to be one of the biggest sort of titles in, I'll say, modern history. It's amazing, you know, these sort of SoundCloud artists is getting discovered, and I think that's the sort of charm of kind of managing an indie company or being on an indie team, because you don't know where it can take you, because obviously they have so much sort of creative passion behind roles, so they don't have to go through as many hoops as a AAA company when it comes to headhunting people or even just finding talent. But that does not mean that, you know, even though they're an indie company and they had a small team, it doesn't mean they had might behind their army. You know, roughly they say it was around 33, which is, I don't know if it's ironic or not, But compared to the sheer volume of Ubisoft's team, the narrative was very focused on manpower and budget. But with Expedition 33, their focus was on the story. But this is something which was aching for a lot of these sort of RPG fans. You know, it's been a long time while we've kind of got our thirst quenched when it comes to that nostalgia of RPGs and JRPGs, because obviously Sandful Interactive has a deep love for these classic sort of Japanese RPGs. Like, you can clearly see like the devs had like a deep love for like Final Fantasy, the Persona series. You know, they made sure they filled their niche with like how the sort of RPG genre was, and they went back to the traditional aspect. They really had a lot of traditional roots for it. Even when it comes to the Lost Odyssey, they're sort of influenced. They said they had the desire to remake the game, which obviously came out in 2007. This cult-like sort of game. It was able to drive the community, and you can clearly see that they put that passion into this game. Like, these were the people who enjoyed those RPGs, and they said, you know what, I'm going to put this much passion into this game. Right now, as you'll see in this video, you know, they've won a number of awards at the Golden Joystick Awards. When you hear, you know, Ben Starr, Jennifer English, Andy, it's like they're all talking about the sort of, not blood, sweat and tears, but just the passion behind it. When it comes to like Jennifer having that sort of humble speech saying that, oh, she's up against the sort of titans of the industries, but not knowing that she is a titan at this point now.
I felt safe enough to pour my grief and pain and all that nonsense and joy and love into this incredibly beautifully written character. And I am so proud of that, and I just want to thank Queer Joy for that.
Which is obviously not to kind of make her sound like she's a god in the sort of voice acting space, but she's earned that merit. You know, her being in Baldur's Gate 3 and now just titling this game, and then you got Ben Starr, who's been the lead role in Final Fantasy 17, playing as Clive, and now he's get to be, you know, Verso in this game. Is you can just see behind the sort of vision of this game, there's these developers, these voice actors, the people who contributed to this game. Is an emotional journey, and you can hear it through this speech. Now, what does this mean for Ubisoft and their sort of staff members? Like, it's interesting because I feel like it just shows that when it comes to creative passion, like, this is what drives these sort of games. This is kind of where it started, where the devs had that passion from when they were kids and they wanted to pour into a game. This is something where they clearly have an example of, like, you don't need to have millions and millions and millions of dollars when it comes to budget. I'm assuming Expedition had a decent amount of budget, but at the same time, there was probably a lot of nights and days where a lot of people were wearing more hats than normal. You know, there was probably like an animator who was doing a bit of level design as well, and probably did a bit of sound engineering, who knows. But it just shows that there was a lot of passion behind the project, and this is a project which I love. I'm only speaking to it into existence, but I know Expedition 33 needs to get Game of the Year. It definitely does. It's going to be around, December the 11th when we're going to get that announcement. They've been announced for a ridiculous amount of times. Like, if we don't get Game of the Year, I feel like a lot of people will just say, well, it deserves it. They've gotten a number of awards in all these other sort of events at, you know, the Golden Stick Awards and all these other countries kind of nominating it as the best independent game of the year, and so forth. But for the people who haven't played it, I definitely recommend you guys play it, give it a chance. It is the terms of the pricing, it is lower than, you know, retail copies. They purposely did that for people to experience the game, because they know that people are going in blindly and they have no sort of reputation, they have no sort of backing behind it. So give it a try. For the people who's already played it, what are you guys' thoughts? Are you guys excited for the DLC? Are you guys excited to see what's coming up ahead? But leave all your comments below, and if you like the video, just give me a like, and let's continue pushing this game, guys. Check you guys later. Peace.